All right, ladies and gentlemen, so after 153 years of building retaining walls, leveling, preparing irrigation systems and whatever, I am now finally ready to seed or to sow my lawn. All right guys, so first things first, what is the grass type that I'm going to use, and how do you even choose a grass type if you are starting a new lawn, or if you're doing a complete renovation? The first thing to keep in mind is, where are you located? What is your climate like? What is the native grass species or the grass type that is best suited for your area? This area, Kikuyu, and our native grass is Kweek or Bermuda, Synodon dactylon transvalensis. So obviously, I'm not going with that. I am going to sow, which might be very stupid, creeping bent grass outside here, guys. Why am I doing this? Because I want to dominate my street. I said to myself, why am I doing all the effort of keeping a cool season grass hydrated at the back where nobody can see it? No, I'm bringing it outside here. I'm bringing my domination outside here. I'm making this a high input lawn. It will take a lot of fertilizer, a lot of, hopefully not a lot of chemicals, a lot of water to keep it looking pristine. But I'd rather do it on a smaller area here while my water supplies are very limited outside here, and doing an easier grass type on the inside. Okay. Right guys, and the variety I've gone with is, as you can see, creeping bent grass is the Barenbrug V8. Right guys, and I've done almost as much as I possibly can. Look, I've got a full-time day job, and I've done as much as I can towards preparing this soil and this place. It is almost as flat as you can humanly think at this point in time. So in my opinion, I'm ready for seeding. So before you seed a lawn, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. The first thing is, how much seed do I need for that area? In other words, your sowing rate. On this area, I've got about 80 to 90 square meters, and I've got 1 kilogram of seed, which covers 100 square meters. Personally, when doing a seeding project, I would say, to be safe, get 1.5 times the amount you need. So 1.5 kilos or 1.3 kilos would have been ideal for me in this situation. However, bent grass is quite expensive and I don't like sitting with excess, and I've still got about a half a bag left from my seeding project, which I did on the back where I built the putting green. The second and most important thing is to have proper seed to soil contact. That will give you the best chance of germinating that grass seed. Obviously, when doing a seeding project, do as much of the preparation beforehand. It's a lot easier leveling beforehand, sorting out the dip beforehand, than doing it afterwards. Okay guys, so in my opinion, there's 1 or 2 ways to do this. I know there's a method called hydroseeding where they spray it out with some sort of a sticking agent, and then the seed comes out with water and whatever, and it sticks nicely to the ground. I don't have that to my disposal. One of the things is, you can throw the seed down and then lightly, very, very lightly top dress it to get a small, I'm talking about like a 1 millimeter layer of sand or soil over the seed to cover it. And the tried and tested method is this, what Jomo is doing right here, is lightly raking grooves into the soil, which will create like a zigzag dip up and down, up and down, up and down, and the seed will fall into that low areas. And then if you come through and raking it lightly afterwards, even lighter than he's doing right now, that will then cover those seeds very lightly with a thin layer of soil.
Running up and down. No, this is so flat. It's just running around, running, running, running around. It's not up and down. Running up and down. This is so flat.
Right guys, the soil prep is done and it looks absolutely awesome. Let me tell you, there's almost no extent that you can go too far when it comes to soil prep. Preparation, 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 preparation. The seeding is actually not that big and a daunting of a task, as you'll see in a second. The soil, guys, I love it. It needs to be just a little bit fluffy like it is right here. Let me go a little bit lower, a little bit fluffy. Only this top, let's say 5 mils or so, needs to be fluffy so that the seed can properly make contact with that layer of soil. Even now, I don't want to walk too much on this prepared area. I really want to try and keep off it, do the seeding, prepare the seed with the soil again, and get off it all together for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Okay, and so I'm going to use this hand spreader. I don't have the world of confidence in this thing. I'm going to see how it goes, but I haven't had the best success with this. I'm going to open this bag. What my plan of attack here is, I'm going to add half of the bag, or more or less half of the bag, into this spreader. Then I'm going to seed the entire area. I think one of the biggest pitfalls is putting down too much seed and ending up having not enough. Have a look at how tiny this bent seed is, guys. It's normally like a creamish brownish color. This is coated, and I'm pretty sure that's only a fungicide to keep it from getting a fungus when germinating. So that's probably half of the seed, maybe a little bit less. And just have a look at that, how little it is. You want to try and get the seed not all over the place, because it will probably germinate in all the cracks and whatever that it comes in contact with. So you really want to try and keep it only in the area that you want it. This area up to here is going to be a garden bed. However, I'm going to seed it for now. It's going to be my nursery for the areas that doesn't succeed on the main area. Right, so I need to open this hopper ever so slightly until I see only a little bit coming out. I'm going to try that for now. Yep. I don't know if you can see that. It's coming out. So I'm going to go at this rate.
What is it I'm doing? Am I losing my mind? Sowing that seed, it's gonna be wild. Water it will need, fertilizer indeed. I'll sell this house to keep it alive. Boy, oh boy, when she shines, it's gonna be real. The blood, sweat, and tears, forgotten years. It's dropping up and down the front of this house.
Right, guys, it's going better than expected. Let me just show you how it looks. Spot the seed. Just have a look at how tiny that is. Moral of the story here, just go slower and lower rate than you think.
Oh boy, when she shines, it's gonna be real. The blood, sweat, and tears, forgotten years. Struggling up and down the front of this house. Lovely lawn is what it's about.
Okay, like we're halfway there. I've only got a little bit of seed left, but the agitator is no longer, catching that seed, so it's difficult to get it out. Guys, these seeds are so tiny. I mean, literally, okay, my fingers are ugly, but whatever. Just have a look at how small that seed is. I've put down even less than half. Now I'm going to put all of the rest of the seed, all but let's say 10 or 15%, which I'll keep spares for areas that struggles to germinate. There's always areas like that where you just want to put a little bit more seed down to get it going. And this you'll do after about 5 or 6 days of your initial germination, but we'll talk about that in next videos. I'm going to put the rest of the seed in and distribute it. Guys, this has gone exceptionally well, in my opinion. I may have underestimated this hand spreader a little bit. It's definitely working better than I thought. So I used less than half, but what I did was on the edges, I really focused on getting the borders covered completely. So now I can really just worry about the middle.
What is it I'm doing? Am I losing my mind? Sowing that seed, it's gonna be wild. Water it will need, fertilizer indeed. I'll sell this house to keep it alive. Oh boy, when she shines, it's gonna be real. The blood, sweat, and tears, forgotten years. It's dropping up and down the front of this house. Lovely lawn is what it's about.
All right, being said, there is done. I've got about 850 grams of seed down on roughly 80 square meters. I think it's about 90 or 92 square meters, this entire area, but that includes the garden beds, which I didn't sow. So I guess I've got about 80 to 85 squares. So it's almost exactly the recommended sowing rate. I'm not for 1 second suggesting that every single bit is going to come up equally as good and at the same time and all that. So luckily I've got a little bit of spares, as well as I've got about a third of my, well, half of my bag left from the putting green, which I can also use. Now I'm going to rake in this very, very lightly. Listen carefully, very lightly. Okay guys, and this is what I mean. You really just want to lightly disturb the soil and the seed. Very, very lightly, because burying this seed too deep will have it germinate far below the soil and not being able to push through. To be honest with you, if you're scared that you're going to rake it in too deep, just leave it in the grooves. I don't know, it's not picking up properly on the camera here, but these seeds are sitting mostly within the grooves, the indentations. And just leaving it like that, putting on water now, will force the soil, like over the seed, like that.
Is it just me, or is this exciting? Sowing the seed and doing nothing. Raking the ground, it is so flat, the world thinks it's round. Running up and down, no, this is so flat. It's just running around, running, running, running around. It's not up and down, running up and down. No, this is so flat, it's just running around, running, running, running around. It's not up and down.
Guys, I just want to show you what happens on this quite heavily seeded area. It's quite daunting actually. As soon as you rake it, it mixes with the soil, and it's almost as if half the seed disappears. And you see what I'm saying? So this area that was really yellow is now turned, a lot of that yellow going into the soil. All right guys, so now the next step for me was to come with my drum roller of my Toro and roll everything flat. However, yesterday we had 15 mils of rain, and I can see below my shoes the soil is a little bit wet, so it's sticking to everything. So I'm so scared I'm building up mud on the drum and picking up a lot of the seed. So I'm going to avoid that process for today. But normally I would just roll it flat and kind of compress that soil and seed together. All right guys, and that wraps up the process. The only thing left for me now to do is to keep this soil moist at all costs. Whether that means I'm irrigating 2 times a day for 3 minutes or 5 times a day for 5 minutes, I've got to religiously keep this soil moist. If this grass seed were to germinate and dry out, it's probably dead. So that's the only thing, guys. I'm now going to watch. Today is only 19 degrees or whatever, so it'll obviously only take, with the rain yesterday and the humidity in there, probably only take 2 waterings. However, later this week when it's going to warm up on Saturday and Sunday, I might have to water 4 times a week. Guys, and don't worry if it doesn't come up everywhere. There'll obviously be update videos so you can follow around, but if you're only watching this video, don't worry if it doesn't come up everywhere. Just keep watering. Some areas do take longer. I can tell you now, along this wall where it builds up a lot of heat, radiation from the sun baking on this, you might have the first germination here because of the heat, but you might also have some die-off because this area doesn't stay moist as well as the inner areas where there's a lot of soil to soil contact instead of soil to wall contact, if you get what I'm saying. Guys, so come out regularly, 2 times a day if possible. Water lightly. You don't want forces of water, you know, obviously washing away the soil and the seed. You want a light mist. Pay attention to that. I'm going to turn on my sprinklers now and hopefully we don't wash away half of the seed with the first go. Okay, so I'm going to have Jomo turn on the solenoid there. So these areas might also be trouble areas, guys, because it's getting a lot of water and the seed might drift a bit. All right, guys, and there we're watering. So we really want to keep our eyes open for the first 2 days, as I say, seeing that the irrigation obviously properly irrigates, get every area wet, stays wet. If there's areas that dry out, adjust the sprinklers or hand water those areas. Guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for following this process. From the start, building the wall, putting in the soil. We built this wall in about a month's time. I've driven in, not myself, with trucks, 16.5 cubic meters of soil. So it's been really hard work, but I appreciate each and every one of you, and you guys watching these videos and supporting the online shop is really making it possible for me. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next videos. Bye-bye. I've already noticed this sprinkler is not going 180 degrees, so I've just adjusted that. One concern about this grass top that I never talked about is this soil. I hope it's not holding on or waterlogging too often. I hope it's not holding on to too much water. Bent doesn't like wet feet and often gets disease. Something like root rot could be detrimental if the water stays in the soil for too long and doesn't drain away properly.
Or is this exciting, sowing the seed?